I'm sorry, guys. Can I start over?
Yeah.
That's
And
like,
I'm 9. I'm not 8.
Also, I remembered I have a tiara now. I forgot.
You have a tiara now.
My kids got one, so I was like, oh, that's a future episode.
Welcome back, everybody. Plant Nerd Podcast. We're all giggles here. This is the Plant Nerd Podcast, and I'm with Plant Nerd Royalty. I got Kata, the queen of the perennial garden. I got Michelle, the millennial maven makeover awesomeness over there. And then I got Devin, the Don of the North Florida Garden, Zone 8 in the flesh. All right, everybody. We got a special little showcase for today of everything. Okay, put on your humility hat. You know, I got first place in a humility contest once. I don't know if you knew that. But today we're going to be talking about all of our bloopers and blunders and everything we screwed up over the last year. It could be a plant that you messed up on. It could have been a design that you messed up on, little construction of a garden. So we want to talk about things that we are not going to do in 24 because we found out in 2023 it just doesn't work. So I'm going to pick on Kata first because I know she screwed something up. And so we're going to take one at a time. Kata, you're the first to tell me the blunder of 23 you are not going to do in 24. What's growing up?
I think this year I was like, I really want to get into annuals. I was just like, let's do this. Everybody has those beautiful annuals. Like, I've been in horticulture for so long. Why can I not do this? And then I was really lucky since through my work, I was able to get like some trial plants and stuff that comes up for the Proven Winners brand. Early on, I was like, awesome. I got those like plants that I can trial and everything. I just failed at it so much. It was so embarrassing. It became that embarrassing.
Die. They're annuals. They are supposed to die. Did they just die before their life expectancy?
They died like very early. I just didn't do anything. And then like one of my like Proven Winner family people came up to Durham, North Carolina and wanted to pick me up at my house. And I was like, no, like they're gonna like fire me if they see how bad of a garden I am. So that being said, I did learn what I did wrong and what I wouldn't do anymore. If you do annuals, guys, you have to be home on a regular basis and actually water them and fertilize them. So if you have a lifestyle like me where you just chat around, annuals are really not your thing and you need to stick with the perennials. But I will say, I failed in my first attempt of annuals. I will try this again because I still love the colors. Like you can just do so much with annuals. And even though you introduced me with the perennial queen, like it's time that this perennial queen tries to venture out and do some other things. But yeah,
Stick to your
I
kingdom.
definitely learned
Stick to your
just
kingdom.
being in horticulture for so long doesn't mean you're just great at everything. So
I hate to say it, but I find I'm way more successful with the old tried and true annuals like begonias, vinca, definitely never petunias or calibrachoa. I don't know what it is. I mean, the cool new annuals like that PW does are awesome. Like they have all these cool multiple colors in the bloom and bloom more often, but just those old fashioned ones are just bulletproof and you can almost ignore them and they just keep going.
So I think I did talk, of course, to a lot of my like cohorts and was like, man, what am I doing wrong? And obviously like watering and fertilizing is very important. But also they were telling me that you just aren't really successful with those things that you just mentioned, like calibrachoas and petunias, if you just put them in a landscape. But I think a lot of the pictures and the pretty things that you see online, they're used in garden beds, but that doesn't necessarily work well in the south, especially in our heavy clay soil. Like I don't have really awesome soil. I don't have a watering system. So I think it's also about just sticking with containers where you can like control all of this better. But yeah, I don't know. Next year it will be better, right?
Trust me, being a small business owner, don't always have time. Forget, I got other kids. I got 2 other startups at home that need water, always asking me for water. I got plants and small children always asking me for water. I did a micro drip. I literally have the most unintelligent irrigation system there is on the planet, which is a battery operated. Hook it up to the hose bib with some micro drip sprays. I mean, and everybody comes over. They're like, "Man, your container garden is always so lush, and beautiful and blooming." And the micro drip in each one of those little containers, just for 10 minutes, once a day, just knocks it out. So there's my little tip for 24 for you.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
idea.
definitely have to step my game up. But I also hopefully won't be traveling quite as much anymore in this upcoming year. So no excuses next year.
There you go.
Well, 24 is going to be a great year for you in Austria and some annuals. All right, Michelle, give us one thing. All right, put the humility hat on. I know you're the maven, but we recognize that 99% of the things that you do are spectacular. But tell us about the 1%.
I'll reveal my 1%. I really can't grow hollyhocks, I've decided. So, and I think that's just a down south kind of thing. I'm not sure. I see them for sale at Pikes and other places. And I've tried many, many years, and I finally got one to bloom, but it was covered in rust. Like you could take a close-up shot of the, beautiful bloom on top, but the rest just looked like oh, it was so bad. So I'm starting, I think, to move over to like verbascum. So there's a lot of really tall, upright verbascums, different colors. And I keep trying to do the whole like, I want the English cottage garden vibe, but it's hard here. It's hard with the rust and the different things that we have. Yeah, maybe I just need to move. I don't know.
It was actually funny. I went dress shopping for my wedding a couple of weeks ago, and this lady in the shop said, "Oh, I just hate when like brides come in and they always show me those Pinterest pictures." And I think I like thought to myself, I was like, "Wow!" Like I hate that so much that people use Pinterest so much for inspiration because it just doesn't translate to where you live, and just what you said now, like the English cottage gardens, you see them in every magazine and Pinterest. It's full of it, but it's like, this isn't what you will ever have in the South. Like, there is
Right.
no way. And if you do, it is so unsustainable and so not environmentally friendly. You should be taking something else. And
Right. Or honestly, like how many gardeners actually work in those gardens every day? Like those are not
yeah,
sustained by a homeowner, So it's
yeah.
the whole anyways. But yeah, I'm done with hollyhocks. I'm dumping them. I'm gonna try to focus on perennials that are tall and upright, and actually don't get diseases. or
You got
less.
lots to choose from, so that'll
Yeah,
actually do
yeah.
well for you. So, I mean, like Liatris, I love Liatris. That's one of my favorite
Yeah.
tall, skinny perennials. It's
Same.
great.
That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
So is Michelle, just kind of put it in a wrap it up here. 24, were you just lowering expectations? Is that what's that?
It might be.
Or are we moving to England? I couldn't really parse out what your next step is here.
We're moving to perennials that might not be featured in English gardens, but are actually proven kind of for the South. I think that's what we're gonna do. Is we're gonna
Well, when you
not
get those seven plants, I want to curate a catalog and be like Michelle's Atlanta cottage garden. But
yes.
Make your own cottage garden. I mean,
DIY.
it
Yes.
doesn't have to be exactly like the magazine. Make it better.
Make it better. Right.
all right, Devin, what are you going to make better in 2024? What's going on?
Oh, I would have to say staying on top of weeding. It has been a nightmare this year, the weeds. And I'm also going to biblically stick to preen early spring and reapply. Because I water every single day down here to keep everything watered because I have such sandy soil. Like if you don't water it every single day, everything dries out. So I think I need to increase how frequently I put out preen and then just not let the whole yard turn into a weed pit and then have to spend like 6 days weeding the entire yard. Just maybe every single Saturday morning walking around and picking up the weeds, the few weeds that pop up, so it's way more manageable.
What are you going to do for suppression? I mean, obviously you're going to go out there and weed, but is there anything else you're going to try for suppression?
I'm going to also do my mulch a lot thicker than I did this year. Unfortunately, I have to put out lots of mulch, but I'm just going to put it out thicker, and I think that'll help. I think between that and the preen, it should really help control the weeds.
So what did you do? How thick was it last year? What are you going to do this year?
I probably only did it like an inch or two. So I'm going to try to go like 3 to really give it a good thick layer to help keep the weeds, out, because it's kind of broken down now too. I mean, this time of year, I usually start mulching in January when everything's starting to go dormant. So, I'm just going to put it out a lot thicker this year. So
remind folks, because you talked about it last episode, but what mulch are you going to be using?
I use shredded pine bark mulch. So I'm going to give this one more try. And if I still have weeds like this next year, I'll probably have to go to mini nuggets, which will be a lot more expensive, but I'll just have to do it so I don't have the weeds. So I'm going to give this mulch one more try.
So as a point of privilege, I'll tell you what I screwed up on and what I will try to do better next year. I tried to I have like a western exposure right at my back door where most people come in, and it gets really hot. It's a little microclimate. It faces west. It's just hot and pretty dry. And so I tried lavender. And I'm not sure why, because I thought this was going to be perfect, kind of sandy. It has. I planted 3, 2 of them died. One of them has the one little sprig. It's like a survivor. It's basically just telling you like you're killing me, Smalls. That's basically every time I see it, it's like you're killing me, Smalls. I haven't asked Plant Nerd AI what I should do, so I'm going to ask the plant nerds themselves. Please tell me, what did I do wrong with lavender? I cannot keep lavender alive.
I can't.
Is it? Do I just need to move me and my little sprig?
Is it on a hill at all? Like, is there drainage?
It's got good drainage. Yeah. I mean, it's got a decent enough slope, 2 or 3%. It's not stagnant. But I thought they would love that hot, dry, and it's just, I don't know.
Lavender's so hard.
Sorry, Devin, go ahead.
I'd say lavender's so hard in the southeast. I don't know what variety you planted, but the only one I've heard of people really being successful with in the southeast is phenomenal.
Yeah, phenomenal. I was about to say.
Yeah.
And that one, like in the north, people don't like phenomenal, some people argue that it just gets way too big, but I don't think you have that problem ever in the south. Like it doesn't get that big. But yeah, I was about to say, like, I stay so clear of lavender. I don't recommend it to anybody. They do like the heat and the dryness, but we are way too humid in the southeast. Yeah. Like I've seen some beautiful ones, like, in really, really hot zone 9 gardens or California, but they don't have the humidity that we have. Phenomenal seems amazing. The guy that bred that one actually did a new one. It's called Sensational, which I haven't tried personally yet, but a lot of my customers actually told me that they really like it. It's a little bit of a different leaf, a little bit more white silvery. But so I think that's worth a try. And yeah, stick with Phenomenal.
It's phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. Yeah.
It is.
Or in the spirit of growing things that are better in the South, Russian sage. Like,
yeah,
it's so very similar, right? Like,
I love Russian sage. It's awesome. You don't have to do anything to it, and the deer don't eat it.
Same. Or rosemary. Honestly, like I never understand why people don't do rosemary.
Yeah. Rosemary prostrata is great. I'll tell you that this garden that I'm doing is all blue greens. I'm doing this weird little fun microclimate garden of all blue greens. So Powis Castle, like the dwarf trailing Powis Castle,
I love that one.
Right now, I have a bunch of lamb's ear in there, and anyway, I'll show you all a picture. It's great. This is our Ask Plant Nerd AI segment where I will read a question, or I'm sorry, we'll get Bob from Idaho or whatever he is. All our customers can go to Surfscape customers can go to Plant Nerd AI, ask questions. We pick 3 from that, where we will sort of see where Plant Nerd AI got it wrong, and we can chat about it, and we can just kind of show artificial intelligence that is not as smart as for plant nerds. So here we go.
But it's not like it's still more helpful than not having a true plant nerd at your fingertips.
Yeah, you're not going to have a kata just in the tool shed that you can just pull out, and just get, yeah. It's like rub the lamp. Okay. All right. Here we go. We're going to do question number 1. Here we go.
I am replacing a creek bank that is overgrown with invasive species in Atlanta. The area is almost fully shaded and drains well. What should I use for erosion control that will spread rapidly and is native to the area?
For your creek bank project in Atlanta, I would recommend the following native plants that are known for their rapid growth and ability to control erosion in shaded well-drained areas. Number 1, Carex amphibula. Creek sedge. This is a compact clumping semi-evergreen native to the eastern coast. Its shiny upright grass-like foliage is a soft green, and in late spring it produces green scaly flower spikes above the foliage. It thrives in rich moist well-drained soils, and is drought-tolerant once established. It can be planted in near full sun if the soil is consistently moist but will have less color. You can cut the foliage to the ground, and remove it in late winter. It's a low-maintenance plant that can be used for accents or group plantings, borders woodland gardens, wildlife gardens, and naturalized areas. Number 2, Spartina alternivora. Smooth cordgrass saltmarsh cordgrass. This is a low-maintenance plant native to North and South Americas. It's a full sun plant that can be cut to the ground late winter. Although it prefers full sun, it can tolerate some shade.
And so there's 2 suggestions. What do y'all think? Can we beat it up?
I love it. I would have literally, if you asked me, I would have told you exactly this Carex.
Yeah, the Carex is what I was thinking.
But like amphibola, it's really hard to pronounce. Amphibola is literally my top favorite Carex when it comes to like creek sites. I've done a huge project in one of my jobs at Hoffman Nursery, and every time I go back there, I'm just so amazed on how beautiful this one looks. It's really ornamental. Like so many Carex can look a little bit weedy, but this one is fantastic. And in my opinion, if I can keep talking for a second, because but like if you blend all of that, I think then you can like put maybe some other ornamental stuff in it. Like for example, like podophyllums. And like mayapple, you see them always. If you go to nature, like you will see them, and you could just like plant a few in there, and then you look like it looks really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I think there's a lot of like ferns that you could dabble in,
My
That's what I was going to say was ferns. That would be the only, that was going to recommend.
One other grass I don't think it mentions that I like to use in sort of a shaded sort of wetland, inland sea oak, Chasmanthem latifolium. I like it because of its aggressive nature for these types of projects where it'll really self-sow and get real aggressive. And if you got a lot here in the South, we got privet. I mean, it doesn't stand up to privet, but it will grow around it. And because those privets are going to come back, it's still going to be these projects. I work with a lot of clients who have these types of situations, and it's just going out there and pulling that privet. I mean, the Achilles heel to privet is that its root systems are so weak. So if you can get them young, you can rip them out, and then that whatever grass, the Carex or the Chasmanthium, is going to kind of take over and kind of shade out some of those young baby plants. So, so anybody else? Any other grass for this one?
Not that I can think of. I mean, those are the best. I mean,
yeah.
Okay, so Plant Nerd AI, you can chalk up a win for that one. All right. Question number 2.
It's after the frost days. I'm in 6A. What fertilizer should I put down?
Based on the information provided, it's recommended to use a complete fertilizer for your post-frost application. A complete fertilizer is one that contains nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The exact ratio can vary, but common ones include 16-4-8, 10-10-10, or 5-10-15. The amount of fertilizer you should apply depends on the type of grass or plants you have. For most warm season grasses, they require 2 to 5 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per year, to remain healthy and attractive. A typical example would be 8 pounds of 12-4-8 per 1,000 square feet when green up begins, and again monthly until 4 to 8 weeks before the average first frost date. Remember, it's always a good idea to consult with your local extension service, or a gardening expert in your area, to get the most accurate advice for your specific situation.
What do we
Devin,
think?
take it away.
I would not recommend putting out fertilizer on anything right now. It's just a waste of your money. The plants aren't going to use
But wait,
it
it
at
said
all.
after the frost
So,
date.
and well, my other
Meaning,
question
like,
would
if you were to fertilize in April, right?
Yeah,
correct.
for your
Yeah.
post-frost.
Post-frost.
Yeah, I mean, I would really like to know, is he trying to fertilize, plants or his turf grass? Because turf grass, you really want to get down a fertilizer, especially warm season turf grass like Bermuda or Zoysia. You want to get down a high nitrogen fertilizer, usually in September, so that as the grass is going dormant, it can uptake that nitrogen. So when it wakes up in the spring, it comes out a lot stronger. But once you get to the frost date, your grass is pretty much dormant. So you can put all that nitrogen out there and it's going to do absolutely nothing. The only thing I would put out if they haven't done anything would be pre-emergent in turf grass to help suppress weeds when it starts to warm back up. But yeah, you don't want to fertilize any warm season grass until it's about 40 to 50% green. Then you can go ahead and put out turf fertilizer. And then I usually like to um, put out fertilizer on shrubs when everything starts waking up. My little trick that I use to remember to put out fertilizer on my shrubs is when the forsythia blooms, because that
Yeah.
means spring is coming. So, and that's also a little trick. Whenever the forsythia blooms in the spring, you want to make sure you put out your pre-emergent to prevent spring weeds. So you got to put out pre-emergent multiple times a year. I usually do it about 2 to 3 times a year in my yard. So
Awesome. I think one of the things to note there is when you're talking fertilizer, you got to know what plant you want to have fertilized, because that will greatly inform what prescription to use in terms of that.
But I think
Okay.
it's a really good point that no matter if you ask AI or actually a plant expert, you need to provide more information. That was a way too big picture. That's like, you need way more information. And if you give AI probably more information, it would have answered even better too.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different plants, so many different times of the year. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? What did you fertilize last year? Like, I don't think everything needs to be fertilized every year. So,
Absolutely. So we're moving on to question number 3.
I'm a beginner. I'm not sure where to start.
No worries at all. We all start somewhere, and I'm here to help you navigate your new gardening journey. Here are some basic steps to get you started. Number 1. Understand your space. The first step is to understand the space where you'll be gardening. How much sunlight does it get? Is the soil sandy, clay, or loamy? These factors will influence what plants will thrive in your garden. Number 2. Start small. As a beginner, it's a good idea to start with a small garden or even a few potted plants. This will allow you to learn the basics without feeling overwhelmed. Number 3. Choose the right plants. Based on your space and the amount of sunlight it gets, you can choose plants that will thrive in those conditions. For beginners, it's often best to start with hardy plants that require less maintenance. Some good options might be hostas, daylilies, or coneflowers. Number 4. Learn basic care. Once you have your plants, you'll need to learn how to care for them. This includes watering, fertilizing, and pruning. Each plant will have different needs, so it's important to do a little research. Number 5. Patience is key. Gardening is a process and plants take time to grow. Don't be discouraged if your garden doesn't look perfect right away. With time and care, it will flourish. Remember, gardening should be a fun and relaxing activity. Don't stress too much about getting everything perfect. Learn as you go and enjoy the process. Plant joy.
I like that it ends with plant joy. Look at that.
And I love that. I think it gets to the philosophy of when people ask, like, I don't know where to start. And I think any topic that you're really trying to, learn about, it's important to understand the philosophical sort of values that you want to arrive to. Because, it's not just about growing things. It's about growing yourself. It's about what you are going to achieve in terms of personal growth as much as the garden. So how do y'all feel?
I think one thing also is that, like, some people get easily overwhelmed when they're new and they only get the information off the internet. And I'm like, there is still really, really great value in getting yourself a good garden book, like a hard copy. It's Christmas. Like, you want to start gardening next year. It's the dead of winter. You can't do much anyway. Like, go get a good, beginner's garden book. There is tons of them.
I'm plugging one right now.
There you go.
Sustainable Gardening for the Southeast. Susan Varlamoff was a UGA professor for decades. I mean, it's chock full of photos and resources. We still go back to the books. So love it, Kata.
That's what I was
I
going to
think
say.
the internet is way too, a lot of misinformation. Talk about fake news on the internet when it comes to gardening. Like, people who write books, they know what they're talking about for the most part. So anyway, sorry.
Yeah, when I was a kid, what was one of my favorite little gifts I got was a KISS gardening book, which is Keep It Simple, Stupid. And that thing is worn out. I learned a lot as a little kid from reading that book, how to do propagation or, take fertilizer, everything like that. They're so good. I mean, you just want a basic gardening book. You don't need a crazy, hydrangea book or vegetable gardening book is kind of important. I actually got a really cool one off Amazon. It's a book and like a planner at the same time. So like every single month it tells you like what I can plant here in North Florida. And then it has a spot where you can take notes like, oh, this did well, this didn't do well. I'm going to do that next year. It's one of the coolest books I've ever had. I love it. So
when it's about vegetable gardening, one of my favorite books is from Brie Arthur, The Foodscape Revolution. Why I like it so much is she's actually a gardener in the Southeast. So so many other books, we go back to like Michelle's comment earlier of like the English cottage garden. There is a lot of books also where they are fantastic books. They don't work in the South. So that's when it comes to vegetable garden, Brie Arthur is a top-notch writer. Sorry, Michelle, I cut you off with my excitement.
No, that's perfect.
Michelle, you've sort of broadcast your journey through your gardening experience.
Yeah.
What sort of advice, if Plant Nerd AI missed one, what would you say something to keep in mind?
Well, I think just the whole, like, the misconception for gardening for some reason is that some people are automatically good at it. Just like with painting or any other hobby that you try, right? Like, nobody paints their first picture perfectly, right? Like, you make scribbles and then eventually you learn from those scribbles. And it's the same with gardening. It's just the act of, maybe Googling or looking in a book of like, hey, why did that die? Or what could have happened? But you get to share plants with your neighbors and things like that, or, create cut flowers.
Yeah.
I love that.
There's so many dividends, right, for the effort.
Yeah, dividends. There you go.
And I get dividends every time we have a conversation. This has been Plant Nerd Podcast 109. We've done 9 of these. It's quite amazing. We're so and I'll just public service note, we got an editor, Laura, who's not on cam, is amazing, and she's helping to
Really?
chop up and edit all of our flubs and blunders along this 30-minute ride, and she's doing an amazing job. So
I
thank you
think
to
at
her.
the I was gonna say, I think at the end she needs to include our starting this episode just to show all the hard work she puts in.
Yeah, okay, all the outtakes. You got it.
And now-
Yeah, at somebody's expense. Thanks, D.
Here goes the Christmas bonus.
Until
I
then,
thought it was
until next time, keep going and growing, everybody. This is the Plant Nerd Podcast. Bye-bye.
Cheers.